Okay, so let's begin with the sign-in form. And for that, let's switch back to Photoshop and show it. And the first thing that we see is this gradient here on the top. I'm just going to grab this color real quick. Alright, so let's go to Master CSS. Let's call this Sign-in Form. And we're going to do div sign-in content. So div sign-in content, and we're going to say, first of all, a background. It's going to be white. That's the fallback color. And then background, we're going to do a Moz linear gradient. We start from top. From this to white, about 50 pixels. And that's because we need the color stop at 50 pixels. And then we're gonna have Moz WebKit gradient, and that's gonna be linear. We start 0, 0, and we end at about 50 pixels. So 0, 50. And we're doing that because, well, we don't want the gradient to go all the way down. We need to stop it about this at about this height. So it's going to be from E7, E7, E7 to white. Alright, let's check it out. And that looks almost as it should, except, and sorry I can't zoom in here, or I would have shown you, we don't have the 1 pixel gap that you can see here, this one. And we can easily do that with a color stop, so setting from white 1 pixel, then the gradient back to white. But a much easier way is just to add a border top of 1 pixel solid white. Okay, so that gives us the spacing that we need. Okay, moving on. And we are moving on to the clean form. So form, clean form, we're going to have the following styles. First of all, width, let's set it to about 500 pixels. And also margin set to 0 and auto, so we can align it to the middle of the page. And I just realized that both our tab contents are shown, so let's go ahead and hide the sign up tab. So we're going to say div sign up content display none. Okay, there we go. I thought there were like too much stuff in the page. I just didn't know why. So yeah, let's go ahead and add a bit of padding to this div as well. So padding should be set. We mostly need top padding, so let's go back to Photoshop, make a quick measurement here. So that is 4950 pixels on the top. Left Left and right, we don't actually need it. So I'm just going to say 50 and none. Okay, so our form is pushed down. And it doesn't look like it's lined up, does it? And that's because we set a width of 500 pixels. And if we measure it, 500 pixels is a lot of width. It's this much. Obviously our form is a bit smaller than that. So let's make it about 300 to begin with. So this one, 300 pixels. Okay, that looks much better. Okay, next, form, clean form, and we're gonna start with the paragraphs. The paragraphs, they hold each input and its label. So we're gonna say margin bottom 15 pixels, and that's gonna space the elements really nice. Okay. So clean form, input, type text, let's just do this for now without the extra code, and we'll see what happens. So we got to target text, password, tell, and email. They all share the same style. Okay, so what should we do first? Well, let's start with the text. Text inside it is 18 pixels. So we're going to do font size 18 pixels. The color should be something like this. Also some padding. I think around 10 should do the trick. Yeah, 10 looks pretty good. Let's see if I used more here. That's actually 13. Alright, I'll go with 15. 15 pixels worth of padding. We gotta reset the border. 1 pixel solid. Let's check it out. Okay. Looking good. Also, let's get rid of this blue glow around it. So I'm gonna say outline none. Okay. Height. Let's set it to. Let's see what the actual height of the form is of the input. That's 47. Let's set it to 50. And obviously that is way too big because we have a padding here. Let's take out the top padding, top and bottom. Okay, so that just gives us lateral padding. Alright, and let's also set a fixed width for him. So width, let's see what I did here. $250. So that's 250 pixels minus the padding of 30. Yeah, 15 left, 15 right. That's 220. Okay, and if you're wondering why the red halo, that's because we set the form, the input attribute to required, so it does not validate right now, but we're just going to get to that in a bit. Alright, now if we take a look at a Photoshop, we notice that we have this inner glow, and also we have another border around it. So we can easily do that by using BoxShadow. That is a CSS3 property. So we're gonna say Moz BoxShadow, and let's say 0, 0. That's the X and Y inset, the positioning, and the blur is gonna be 0, and the size is going to be 5 pixels. And finally, the color, let's grab it from Photoshop. The color is going to be that. Okay, let's check it out. So that is the outside border. Now what happens when I change this value to about 10 pixels? It's all blurry, and that is the blur property. So and just so you know what I'm on about, let me just do this, 10 pixels. Notice how it shifted to the right. That's because it moved 10 pixels from the left. That is the X inset. This is the Y inset, so it moves vertically. So if we set this to 20, it's going to move down like this. If we give it a negative value, it's going to move up. So by setting these two values to 0 and 0, we make sure that it goes all around the form. This is the blur, as I said, and this is the spread, 5 pixels. Change this, it gets bigger. Okay, so let's also do this for WebKit. WebKit BoxShadow, same deal, 0, 0, 0, 5 pixels, and the same color. And finally, BoxShadow. Okay, so that gives us the outer stroke, but what about the inner one? Well, you can have multiple shadows. So we can do this inset, which means we're applying the box shadow inside the box. Again, 0, 0 for the X and Y, and then 5 pixel blur, 5 pixel spread, and it's going to be the exact same color. So it should have worked. Let's see if I got something wrong here. So Moz BoxShadow inset 0, 0, 5 pixel, 5 pixel, and some color. Weird. Okay. Oh, okay. So that happened. Yeah. Sorry. By setting the inset to only the Moz property, we actually ignored the last property, and when it came to it, the browser used this last property and has overwritten the first one, if that makes any sense. So just by reapplying the same style to the last property, it all looks good now. Except let's pick different color for that, since that's not exactly what I wanted. So okay, that's a bit better. And you can play around with this, you know, make the spread bigger or the blur smaller or whatever you want. But for now, this will do just fine. So we have the inputs, but what about the labels? We need to start positioning those as well. So let's move on to the labels. Alright, first thing, font weight, bold. Font size should be 14 pixels, if I recall. Yep. What else? Let's float them to the left. And also, let's set display block. And form, clean form, p label. This is weird because it should have aligned them on the left side of the inputs. So let's check out the CSS again, or even better, let's open up Firebug. So we have the label, display block, float left, and we have the input. I wonder if the form sizes. Yep, that was the problem. We set the form size too small, so the input didn't, the label didn't have room to go to the left. So let's make this a bit bigger then. About 450 should be enough space. And let's see, username, password. Okay. We also need some margin right for the label. 20 pixels. And text align should be right as well. Alright. Okay, looking good. Now how about we center those labels with the inputs? And a quick way to do that is set a height of the actual label to approximately the same height as our inputs. And the inputs are 50 pixels in height. So let's say 50, and also line height set to 50. Alright, so now they are aligned with the center. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And if my eyes are not mistaken, our two inputs are not aligned properly, and I think that's because we have different widths for the labels. So why don't we set the width here to about I don't know, 100. Let's see, the form is 450, the input is 250, so that gives us about 200 pixels. The margin right is 20, so that means 130 pixels of width for each label. And there we go. Now it's aligning properly, as we can see here. Let me just make sure. Yep. Cool. Okay. First two inputs are done. Let's check out this. Let's check out this checkbox right here. It looks kind of lost there. So let's say input with a type of checkbox, and let's actually have a look at it, see what's wrong. Okay, so type checkbox, and the label. Now, yeah, the problem is the label, because it borrows some of the styles from the other labels. So we gotta do something different about that. And what we can do, actually, let's modify this or set a different class to it. P with a class of, let's say, push left, because we need to push this from the left side. You'll see what I mean. So paragraph, we don't need this. Paragraph with a class of push left. Well, no, that's not good. It doesn't, it has to be a div, a separate container here, because if we do the paragraph, then we're gonna borrow the same styles from P label, and we don't want that. So we made a div, and now the label looks as it should, and all we need to do now is push this to the right, including the sign in button and this this other stuff right here. So I think actually we can include all of these in the same div. Okay, so let's see. Input type checkbox, div push left, and we're gonna say margin left of what? Let's see where we need it to be positioned. If we take a look at the PSD, the checkbox aligns perfectly with the outer edge right here. So if we measure 130, which is the width of the label, plus another another 20, which is the margin right from the label to the input, we would get 150. But we do want our div to align with the outer edge, so we got to subtract those 5 pixels, which is the spread of the box shadow. So we're gonna do margin left 145 pixels, and that should give us a pretty good alignment. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it actually aligns perfectly with the outer stroke right here, and that is exactly what we want. Okay, so a couple of more things that we need to do here. The input and the label should be pushed down about 20 pixels from the top. So push left, we're going to say padding top of 20 pixels, and I think that's a bit too much. That's actually 30 pixels, so why the extra margin? Margin left, now if we don't set the padding, we already have a little padding here, and that's probably caused by the label or the input, the checkbox. So what if we go up here and reset those? So input type equals checkbox, and we'll set margin to 0. Let's see if that helps. No, it does not. And neither is the label. So why is this happening though? Let's open up Firebug. Oh, hello. That's because we have a paragraph on the top, and that one has a margin bottom of 15 pixels. So really, all we need to do is set a padding top of 5 pixels to get exactly what we want, 20. Okay, good. So that is the checkbox. Just a quick fix. Input type check. Sorry about this. I've been at this the whole day, so I'm kind of tired right now, but not to worry. Type checkbox, we're gonna say margin right of about 5 pixels, just to push the text to the right a bit. Alrighty then. Next up, the submit button. So to do that, let's go to Photoshop. Let's check this out, see what we can do with it. First of all, we're gonna have a gradient, and then we're gonna have white text with a bit of text shadow, and finally we're gonna have this icon to the right. So let's go ahead and say input type submit, and let's begin. Border 1 pixel solid. Let's grab the border color, and then we need to make it round. So WebKit border radius 5 pixels, Moz border radius of 5 pixel, and border radius of 5 pixels. Okay, so that's the border. Next, let's do the background. So this is a gradient. We're going to use a gradient, so it's going to be from this is the fallback, obviously. So background, it's going to be Moz linear gradient. We start from the top, oops, from this to the actual border color, to this. Okay, no need for color stops here. And for WebKit, we're going to have background WebKit gradient, and that's going to be linear 0, 0, and 0, 100% from to. From is this, to is this. Let's check it out. Alright, starting to take shape, and let's add some padding actually. So padding is going to be, let's see, around maybe 15 pixels, and also cursor pointer so that it looks like a button. Alright, set the color to white. Font size I think should be a bit bigger than 12. Yeah, it's 14. So font size 14 pixels. Let's set the font family again, because the text in the submit type input has a different font. Don't ask me why, but it just seems that it does. Also, text transform will be uppercase, and let's see what else. Should be bold. Yep, bold. And also let's add a text shadow. The syntax for this is pretty simple. It's going to be 1 pixel for X and Y inset, 0 for blur, and the color should be something it should be grayish actually, so let's set something like this. So I'm thinking a gray that looks something like this. So let's say 70, 70, 70. Let's check it out. Almost. What if we go lighter, like something like this? Nah, that's not good. I'm just gonna revert back to this. 7077E. Alright. Next, let's see what we can do with this icon here. Now, remember I said earlier when we were doing the tabs that CSS3 supports multiple backgrounds. So we're going to do just that for our button. And on background, we're going to say URL img slash what's it called, button icon dot png. And this one should be set, let's see, left should be set to a percentage actually. So let's start with 70%. Center, no repeat. Let's copy this and check it out. That's pretty good, but we can go a bit more to the right. Something like this. Now, notice the text is kind of overlapping the icon, so we need to set a bigger padding. And also we need to tamper with the padding for bottom because it's just a bit too big here. So let's try 15 here on top. Right should be bigger, so let's try 50. Bottom should be 12 and left should be 15. Let's see how that looks like. That actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I think we got it about right there. Maybe a bit less to the bottom, let's say 11. Yeah, something like this. And maybe a bit less on the sides, about 12. Sorry. 45 and 12. Actually, it should be 10. And let's move this even more to the right, about 85%. Yep, that's pretty good. Alright, so that's the sign in button. Let's create some hover states for it. Well, it's actually a hover state, but anyway. Input type equals submit hover. And again, just tampering with some colors. Let's create a brightness contrast, should be about 10 to get some new colors. And the gradient should go from this color to this color. Let's check it out. Okay, looking good. Let's check it out in Chrome as well. Alright, now Chrome seems to have a bit of an issue with some of the paddings, but we'll get to that once we do the browser checking. Okay. So we finished this, we finished the submit. Let's move this down a bit. So I'm just gonna do something like this, BR at the beginning. Okay. And we need to set some margins for it. So I'm just going to say margin. I think it should be around 30, yeah, 30 pixels. So we only need a margin top of 30 pixels. Okay, good. Now we won't have any problem with that margin top because the other div, the sign up div, actually has the same structure, so it needs to be pushed down anyway. Okay, final thing on the sign-in form is this little bit right here, the extra form. And the markup we wrote says div class form extra. So we're going to say div form extra. And form extra should have a margin top, as you can see here, of 20, and also a padding top of 20. And let's not forget about the border top. So we're going to say margin top 20 pixel, padding top 20 pixel, and border top. Okay. And let's see, trouble signing in. This looks good. We also got to style these two links. So form, clean form, and let's target the anchor tags. Now the color for the anchor tags is going to be this 1271 C1, and let's do something, I don't know, a bit different for these. For instance, border bottom, let's make it 1 pixel dotted and the same color. Let's see how that looks like. That looks pretty good. And for the hover, color is going to be the general body color. Copy that, and we're going to modify the color of the dotted line. So now our links look something like this. Okay. And let's not forget about the focus states. And this is just a little detail that, you know, gives a life a bit of form, and gives the form a bit of life. So we're gonna say input type equals text unfocus, and also we gotta set the same style for when we actually have when we hover with the mouse. So we're gonna say input type text focus and hover, and then we'll just duplicate these for the other types of input. So we have password, and then we're gonna have email, and finally tell. Okay, and we're gonna say border 1 pixel solid, and let's pick a darker border here. Not too dark, but dark enough to be to notice it. Something like this: B7 BC C1. Let's check it out. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, guys. So we've done the tabs so far. We've done the sign-in form. Everything looks rather well. And now it's time to do the sign-up form. And after that, we're actually finished with the CSS part. So yay for us. So yeah, I'll see you back in part 3.